Are we having a discussion about French? It seems unusual to suggest that a university has regressed, but that's exactly what's going on here in Queen's. Not only has bilingual signage was taken down in 1987, it's been repeatedly kept down for almost 30 years since. It's important that this debate isn't about whether Queen's should adopt something entirely new, but whether they are ready to recommit to a policy of equality that decades after having abandoned it. Irish language signs are incompatible with a neutral working environment, said the Fair Employment Commission in their review. But this idea that Queen's is neutral, it's a neutral space, is a fallacy. Neutral spaces require ignoring key markers of identity and culture. They encourage people to come together, certainly, but only if they do not acknowledge what makes them different. Queen's is a shared space, instead an important distinction evident through its promotion of global cultures and location in a post-conflict, still divided city. A shared space doesn't ignore symbols, but encourages them to exist openly, side by side. They may be conflicting, challenging, and even perceived as offensive to certain groups, but we're in a high-ranked university, not a creche. So why then do the powers that be draw the line at the native indigenous language of the land on which we're all sitting right now? An argument made at the time and ever since is that other languages like Polish and Lithuanian are spoken in this city more than Irish, so why don't they deserve it? Without hesitation, I celebrate this diversity and hope that, like London and Dublin before us, Belfast continues to attract and nurture more languages and cultures. Yet the reason that Gaelic is so low on the list, in fact the reason we're not all speaking it here right now, is fundamentally the result of one thing: colonialism. Language binds a people together. It connects them to their land, history, mythology, each other. When they lose it then, the people forget the deep, unconscious, collective conviction of who they are. In other words, an identity crisis, leading to insecurity, then fear, then conflict. In an ever-growing number of places around the world, the indigenous language has been wiped out entirely. Hushpupuna in Mississippi, Mogoa in Sydney, and Cuba in the Caribbean are all places whose names are foreign in meaning to those who live there. Belfast is not the same as those places, from which this university derives its name. Translated as mouth of the sandbank, Belfast is alive and well. Yet from taking a walk around this campus, you'd be forgiven for thinking that the word Belfast was made up from scratch and not a deliberately anglicised construction. It might be claimed then that the language is being politicised. I absolutely agree. But given its historic marginalisation, such as being illegal to speak in court for almost 300 years until 11 months ago, or not being facilitated at all. Yep.
It's not being important to clarify that Irish wasn't actually singled out in terms of being outlawed in the courts. It was actually more specifically directed at French. That's not maybe.
Are we having a discussion about French?